through from Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton has moved his Mercedes up and into a further place as we head now down towards turn 3. There's Esteban.
From stripping down to their speedos to throwing a flare at the race circuit, Formula One is home to some of the most intense reactions, and there have been several instances where fans have gone way too far. Like, they've invaded the track far too many times.
2022 season with victory in Abu Dhabi, 95 days in fact. But F1 is back with the first of 3 days of testing.
I mean, I get why fans would like to be closer to their celeb idols, but that doesn't mean breaking into the circuit in the middle of a race where cars are zooming at 200 miles per hour, and that's what happens when your IQ is the same as your shoe size. Like, your fave will not stop for a selfie just cause you're out there waiting for him on the track.
Sebastian Vettel's retirement, with Pierre Gasly filling the Spaniard's seat at Alpine alongside Esteban Ocon.
That's just lunatic behavior. For instance, in the Singapore Grand Prix in 2015, there was a man on the sidelines having a stroll as if he were not in the middle of an F1 race. And when race leader Sebastian Vettel crossed him, he was absolutely shocked, because one small move and the guy would have flown all the way onto the racetrack.
Schumacher at Haas. And we have plenty of new blood joining us for this record-breaking season.
Which would have cost him his life, but good for him, he was out of there within a minute. But even that isn't as weird as what happened in the 2015 Chinese Grand Prix. Like, it wasn't even race day, just a free practice session. And this one fan took the name quite literally. He thought that free practice meant that anyone could have a go in the car, and the Force India that he just so narrowly missed when he ran across the track was just some fan having a go. So this guy, all geared up for a shot at an F1 car, headed straight to the Ferrari garage and demanded Vettel and Kimi give him their car. Like, if it was that easy, bro, I wouldn't be here. And, you know, he never got to drive that Ferrari. Thankfully for the marshals, he was just a little confused.
Will race for the Woking outfit this year. The 22-year-old suffered a big lockup coming out of the tight turn 9.
So he was escorted out peacefully, which is something you'd rarely get to see if situations become chaotic, because some fans, they don't hold back if they hear something they don't like. Like, I know, fans have different opinions, and Verstappen and Hamilton are now the Barcelona and Real Madrid of the F1 tribal rivalry. And y'all don't need to beat each other up if y'all don't agree, because just look at what happened at the 2022 British Grand Prix. All hell broke loose, and two guys ended up in the hospital because of how much they were wounded up. Like, jeez, that's enough motorsport for you guys. And if you think about it, the people around them got a 2-in-1 deal. A Grand Prix race and a boxing match. It was drama left and right, until most of them got arrested or sent to the hospital. And it makes me wonder, what exactly did they start arguing about? Because if it was a personal issue, then the F1 grandstand was not the spot for confrontation. And speaking of which, some fans don't really know where to draw the line in showcasing their personal stuff. Remember when 9 Australian fans stripped down for Daniel Ricciardo as he won in Malaysia? Well, that's one way to celebrate, I guess. But as our boy Rick was chugging champagne from his shoe, these fans were already down to their underwear. Probably the most Australian thing to do, but it gets worse. It had the Malaysian flag printed on it. Now, that's just disrespectful, and rightfully so. These guys were arrested for their behavior. Maybe they thought that they'll get out of this one because they were showing some patriotism, but that's not exactly showing love for another country. Like, what were they even thinking? If they wanted Daniel's attention, then they probably did, but they got more of Malaysia's law enforcement on their trail. Well, these were the type of fans who would literally do anything for their fave, and there's plenty more where that came from. Just ask Alex Albon, who was picked on by a Ferrari fan for his race battles. Like, come on, man. It's literally a Formula One driver. You don't get to pick on him just because he gave some trouble to Ferrari during the race. I mean, that's kinda his job, you know? So what happened was, there was an after party following a race, and Albon was waiting for his drinks at a nearby table because he was tired of standing. And you can't blame him. He had just raced the life out of himself for 2 hours straight, so let the man breathe. breathe. But the guy on the table, with his Ferrari cap on, didn't like how the Albon treated his all-time fave Sebastian Vettel in the race. So the fan tried taking revenge and called security on Albon because he wouldn't get up from their table. Karma sure knows its way around because the guard ended up kicking the guy out instead. Like, hello? You want Alex Albon to leave because you feel like you'll do Vettel a solid? Well, you can't really do that by doing whatever this guy did, because he really lacked in the mannerism department, and that's something Formula One has been facing for years, because some fans don't really let others have a good time, and these people would be indulging in swearing and racist comments, something that is highly unacceptable. Like, imagine you save up for a long time to go see an F1 event, and then you're welcomed by disrespectful remarks just because of your background, or even simply the driver you support. Well, that's something that's been happening for ages now, and the GOAT, Lewis Hamilton, has been intolerant towards such remarks. And honestly, it's the 21st century. We're not in the Stone Age era, and we've got access to education, so might as well bury that ignorance and learn some basic manners, and let everyone have a good time, because absurd fans like these bring a bad name to Formula One. It's completely tone deaf. Like, how did someone think throwing a flare onto the race was going to be funny? This one fan really felt the need to bring a pop of color to the racetrack. Or maybe he wanted the qualifying session to be stopped for a while, probably because he wouldn't be there to see the laps.
And Helmut Marko was quick to sign him up for AlphaTauri. P13 on debut is a pretty decent first outing.
So he threw whatever was within reach, which happened to be an orange smoke flare, and that landed right in the middle of a straight. And we all know how debris on straights is a front wing killer. So just imagine what this thick object could have done. It's just a silly thing to do, because the race gets suspended and there are a million cameras filming everything. So whoever does something like this will get caught. You see, no one really benefits, and it's no fun if you're banned from Grand Prix races. And sometimes, a little bit of humor can really bring a lot of chaos. Just like what happened to the fans who were arrested over their use of a golf buggy at the Australian Grand Prix. Well, these fun-loving fans became some fun-loving criminals right when they stepped onto that car.
And a Formula E and F2 champion. His deputizing for the unwell Alex Albon.
And all they wanted to do was go for a ride, maybe for a memory for their grandkids. Though this new version is much crazier, but still, it broke the rules. And those seats were preserved for some VIP guests and celebrities. But since they were arrested for it, safe to say that they weren't celebs. So much for a joyride, am I right? Well, some fans don't really know when to stop, and that counts for all the times when F1 fans went too far.